I'm John. This is Thomas.
How you doing?
We're wanting to get this is a grassroots situation that we're trying to get up and running. We're trying to build a sense of community for our veteran population in San Antonio and the greater Bexar County area. And what we're really wanting to focus on, so the two of us have specific skill sets working with veterans that are experiencing homelessness.
Yes.
But we want to open this dialogue up and start building this community platform for all veterans in San Antonio and the Bexar County area. And so one way that we've thought about doing that would just be having this open dialogue session through different social media outlets and trying to figure out a way to get community resources to kind of engage and buy into this idea of getting their information out there. And so Thomas and I, we're in this space, we're not affiliated with any one entity, any one organization. We're literally just here to get the ball rolling so that these different community outreaches and these different community organizations can kind of, we hope to one day be able to have guest speakers come on and share their stories and their platforms that they use and their engagement styles, and to share their mission statements and to share what resources that they have available for the veteran communities here in San Antonio. And so we don't really know what that looks like yet. This is new to the two of us, and so you'll have to bear with us initially because it's a learning. There will be a learning curve.
Definitely.
But we hope that this will open a door and get a dialogue started. And so one of the first things, this is kind of just getting to know us. I am an Army veteran. I was in the Army for just under 8 years. I got injured in Iraq in September of 2006, and so my experiences through the military and getting released from active duty and reintegrating back into society, if you will, were different than Thomas's. But that's not to say that we both don't have unique situations and stories kind of wrapped around what our experiences have been. So I know for me, some of my biggest barriers that I face personally, kind of getting back into the swing of things, being in the civilian sector, was that question of what do you want to do when you grow up, right? Like I didn't know what the answer was when I first transitioned back. What do you want to do? Like, does it require an education? Well, probably so, right? And so, what avenue do I want to take? And so, I personally kind of just jumped back into the school route, and I ended up getting my education through VA services, and that's kind of where. And so I ended up. I work in the social services now here in San Antonio, and so I work. Like we said, I work specifically with veterans that are experiencing homelessness, but I had a lot of resources available to me that maybe not all veterans that are just ETSing don't have, right? And so veterans that are just ETSing, I know if they're coming out of the Army, just going through the TAPS program, they're kind of just thrown back into the mix of things. And whereas I did have a few more avenues where I had a little bit more specifically, designated like case managers, if you will, that helped me and helped guide me down the path that I ended up taking. But that's not to say that there aren't resources available to. Just because I was medically retired from the Army doesn't mean that somebody that's just ETSing out of the service. I mean, they do have access to certain things, but I know, Thomas, you went through a little bit. Your route was. Did you go through the medical process as well?
I boarded out, yes.
Okay. What were some of the things you experienced, like when you got out? Some of the barriers that you had to overcome.
Barriers I had to overcome was not having a game plan when I got out.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I was they gave me like a 90-day warning. So I had 90 days and just not having a plan, so I ended up moving in with my parents. And even that I was medically boarded, I still didn't apply for VA benefits till way later because I didn't know how to. Nobody introduced me to the system. I didn't know who to call. So instead of doing that, I just figured out a way how to provide for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So information was a barrier.
Okay.
You know, I didn't know who to talk to. They didn't line me up with anybody. You know, just kind of like, you're out, there you go. So, and I think a lot of veterans run through that issue when they, you know, they get, not everybody retires, and when you don't have a lot of information on what kind of benefits you qualify for. But like you, I ended up going to college because I knew that's one thing that I wanted to do because I just knew I wanted to better myself. And there was a lot of naysayers. People were like, in the military, even my family told me, if you get out, you might not make it. And we all know that's a lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the skills we gained while we're in the military definitely relate to the civilian world more than you think. But yeah, the information was my barrier.
So when you were going through the process of, now did you go through like the TAPS? Did they have something like that, transitional assistance?
Yeah. Well, I originally I did 10 years of active duty,
Mm-hmm.
and my last couple years of active duty were through the Texas Army National Guard. I was AGR.
Okay.
They have no program.
Okay.
And since I knew I was going from active duty Army to National Guard, I didn't have to go through TAPS at that time because I was transitioning to another service. So there's definitely less resources available for me.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that moving forward we're going to want to work with is we're not here to promote any organization. We're not here to promote any one entity. We're here to have an open dialogue, an open session, if you will, for folks to provide these resources to these veterans that are transitioning. And I know of a lot, but again, we don't want this to be some sort of a commercial for any one organization, right? We simply just want to be the facilitators and to provide these community resources a platform to come in and tell the community of veterans about what programs are out there and what is available to them.
Right.
This is not a space where we're trying to make one organization feel better than or make another organization feel less than. That's not what this is about. This is simply about we want to address some real life problems and barriers that veterans are facing and find ways around these barriers so that these vets can get access to these resources so that they can just better their situations.
Great.
Now, if it doesn't matter if it's a homeless veteran or if it's a veteran that is couch surfing, with friends, or if it's a veteran that moved back in with their folks when they got out because they didn't have the finances to be able to get on their feet in stable housing.
See, I didn't know that there was SSVF,
Mm-hmm.
housing assistance, because I was really homeless. I was
Mm-hmm.
living with my parents, couch surfing. So just seeing how much that would have helped me, but I had no idea.
Yeah, and that's just one small avenue, right? Like, and that's just from one small avenue as far as like housing specific that provides specific housing services to veterans that are kind of under the it's not the minimum wage. What do they consider that to be? It's lower income.
There's a cap on how much income you can earn.
Yeah, but it's not much. It's in the like less than 30,000 range, and we all know that if you're a transitioning veteran, most veterans that are ETSing are coming out, as an E4, E5, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty standard across most branches, right? If they just do one enlistment, they're usually coming out in that E4, E5 range, and so. It's not like they were making a ton of money when they were on active duty. I mean, they had a guaranteed paycheck, but if they were anything like me, they didn't save any of it
Right.
while they were on
I was
active duty.
paycheck the whole
Yeah.
time.
So, and that's really, so this is not a, we're not trying to build something here that is just going to, this isn't about us, right? This is about opening up a dialogue and providing a space, because there is a ton of resources in San Antonio. There's a ton of resources in Texas. There's a ton of resources county-wide for Bexar County. There's all these avenues, right? But navigating through these resources is extremely challenging.
Yep. And that's kind of where this came from, because we hold a certain frustration on barriers that our veterans have just to get a benefit. Even just to get a 214, there's a barrier. And without a 214, a lot of agencies or even a VA might not be able to help you. So it's just, this really comes out of frustration. If we're frustrated, so is the veteran.
That's right, and you mentioned the DD 214. So we're not opening this up for, there's a lot of veterans that have other than honorable discharges. Okay, guess what? There's a lot of resources out there for you. If that's you and you're in that category, it's okay. There's still a ton of resources available for you.
Right.
There's resources for, there's a lot of bad conduct discharges that we've run into, and so there's still resources available. Now,
and if you believe your discharge is not deserved, there's also a way to try to get that overturned as well.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know until recently.
And I'm currently working with somebody that's trying to go through that process, and guess what? It does have to go through certain government entities, and guess what? There's a lot of barriers that you have to overcome. There's steps that have to be taken, and there's initial documentation, and then there's more documentation. But if you feel that your discharge was maybe not fair, somebody needs to take a look at that. And there are avenues where that discharge could potentially be overturned or upgraded for VA purposes, where you could be entitled to certain benefits through the VA specifically.
That's right.
We're not promoting the VA, but they just happen to be the ones who would kind of be the overseer of that process moving forward. So this really is, when we say the veteran community, this is if you raised your right hand and swore an oath to protect and defend this country, then there's benefits out there.
Yes.
There's resources out there. Now, not every avenue of discharges may get access to the same things, but there's still assistance out there in certain capacities, and so that's really what we're wanting to focus on. Now, Thomas and I were talking before we started this, and we were thinking about some of the things. So some of the things we're really wanting to focus on is getting, first and foremost, if you're a veteran and you're in a very low income situation, and you need rental assistance, or you need assistance with getting a better paying job, and if you have eligibility left for certain schools, that if you still have money on your post 9/11, or you still have some money left and you were with voc rehab at one point through the VA, or whatever the case may be, we want to kind of be, that's one of the things. Low income veterans, helping get them into a position where they can increase their income, they can get a better paying job, they can get access to education that can open up more doors for them. If you're a veteran, so that's income development. Maybe you're eligible to put in for a service connected claim through the Veterans Benefits Administration. So for those that don't know, the VA is essentially broken down into three categories. There's the Veterans Benefits, VBA. There's the VHA, Veteran Health Care, and then there's the cemeteries. And so not everyone understands that when they're working with the VA, they're like, well, my primary care said this and my school counselor said this. Well, guess what? Those are completely two separate entities.
Right.
And spoiler alert, they don't always communicate well with each other. So
Or at all.
or at all. So there's, but guess what? There are avenues and there are resources out there to kind of help you navigate so that you can figure out an alternative to getting linked up with both of those avenues. So, but if it's income, you're low income, no income, income generating, right? We need to figure out, how to help somebody get into a better income situation. Then there's benefits, which can pretty much tie into the income. A lot of times veterans don't know what benefits they may or may not be eligible for. I know Thomas and I, we've gotten pretty good at, kind of researching someone's, or looking at someone's DD-214, and that really that kind of gives us a broad picture of what somebody may or may not kind of have the avenue to be able to take. So, and a lot of these veteran service providers in and around San Antonio, that's a lot of people are really good at looking at that 214 and figuring out, how to navigate that and kind of explaining what you may or may not be eligible for.
For free. You don't have to hire a lawyer.
For free. Thank you, Thomas. That's correct. And there's a lot of the attorneys out there that are trying to finagle veterans into taking them under their wing and helping them get access to these benefits. Well, there's going to be a fee associated with that. And so if the veteran does find out they're eligible for benefits and they do get back pay for benefits that they filed a while back, well, that attorney takes his cut off the top, and then the veteran gets, what's left of it. Well, why do that when you can do it for free? When that's another thing. That's where this platform, this open dialogue, we want this information to be shared openly.
Definitely.
Housing is more so for if you're couch surfing right now and you're just looking for, you're just trying to figure out how to find some affordable housing. We've learned a lot about working in that space, and so. And we know a lot of different people that may or may not be willing to come on and talk about that.
Right.
But there's resources for that. I know that Thomas, you may not be aware, but there's a program through. It is through the VA, but it's called the ETS program, and it's basically it's when you ETS out of the Army, you're ending your time in service, or ETS out of the military. Well, on that note,
our technology is limited. That's why we have to limit the time.
yeah. So we will continue this dialogue. We will continue this engagement, but we just wanted to kind of get this out there. We're gonna put this on multiple outlets,
Yes.
and we hope to eventually create a.
Our name, our podcast name is going to be DX, which is Direct Exchange.
Yep.
And if you've ever, what in essence it is we're going to turn you into serviceable equipment.
That's right. You are going to be DX'd from non-serviceable to serviceable equipment.
Yes.
And it's kind of a play on words, and so we're trying to find a humorous way to kind of get it out there. But and Thomas and I both we use humor in our day-to-day lives. I mean, I'm very vocally. I have no problems with joking about myself or joking about other things. So we're very open to constructive criticism or
Yes.
just you guys suck.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Or tell us we're wrong and comment on the video questions you have or advice you have for us or anything. Just, I don't care if you think it's negative or positive, it's all feedback.
Yeah. And so we do hope to get this on, I believe we're going to try it for the YouTube.
YouTube first, and then I'll post it on my personal Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
John will do the same. But we'll start getting ourselves out there. So I just thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you guys.